Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel and to tonight's video. This evening I am going to be flying us from a regional airport in southern Utah, ICAO KCDC, also known as Cedar City Regional, and we're going to be flying for about an hour down south to Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix, Arizona, which is KPHX for the ICAO. Alright, we just now throttled up. Right now we're fighting a southwesterly wind that's kind of heavy with some rain. Okay, we just reached V1, rotation speed, and up and away we go. Yeah, we were kind of veering to the right a little bit, the right of the runway, given that crosswind we were fighting, so I had to add a little bit of right aileron, left rudder to counteract that. So, anyways, right now we're flying runway heading and get ready to set the Airbus, the A320, which is what we're flying. Actually, we're flying the LEAP model. It's the enhanced A320 version for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which I really enjoy a lot because the authors have added some really nice sounds and additional functionality for the switches and navigation and whatnot, so it's a really nice aircraft. In my opinion, it's better than the default 320. I like to think of this aircraft as the equivalent of the Zeebo Mod 737 for X-Plane. I always have a little bit of trouble with this part right here, trying to get the throttle set properly in the proper detent so that the engine RPMs can stabilize themselves and I'm not overspeeding. Just had to set the autopilot here so that system can configure itself properly. Right now we're shooting for a constraint altitude of about 11,000 feet because that's the minimum altitude that we need to clear the mountains that are just to the east of us that are along the I-15 corridor. The I-15 runs all the way from San Diego in Southern California up to the USA-Canada border up in Montana. Since we've surpassed 10,000 feet, we're going to go ahead and turn off the landing lights, as well as get around to turning off the wing light and putting the seatbelt sign to auto so that passengers can get up and move around if needed. But of course, as you know in real life, pilots always recommend that packs keep their seatbelts fastened while they're sitting in case they encounter any unexpected turbulence. Now, looking at the navigation map right there, as you can see, we've kind of veered a little off course from our flight plan. That's just because I haven't had a chance to put the aircraft in nav mode yet. I've been more or less flying the runway heading mode. Okay, now that I just put it in nav mode, it's gonna make its way over to the green line, as you can see, so that way we can pass over our various waypoints, so we don't have to try to fumble in the dark to try to guess which way we're headed. So, I haven't been able to figure out why I keep getting this warning light. I've been getting a yellow warning saying TCAS standby. I apologize, I don't have an airline transport license. I'm not a professional pilot, so I'm just doing the best I can. I probably understand about 80% of what I'm doing here, so I'll admit I'm definitely not the best pilot out there by any stretch of the imagination, that's for sure. So, but I am very, very passionate about the world of aviation, and that's why I decided to start this YouTube channel in the first place, because I love to share my enthusiasm for aviation with all of you like-minded enthusiasts out there. Okay, and as you can see, a few minutes ago I went ahead and set my next altitude level to flight level 190, and that way when I reach that flight level, it's a cue for me to set the barometer to standard mode, which is the 29.902, because I have had the tendency to forget to do that in the past. So. And yes, I'll admit, I've never been real good about following checklists or having it out, showing it to the T. I think I do this more for fun, more for the entertainment aspect. So I guess I could put that out as a disclaimer. Like, don't take what I'm doing here as aviation gospel, if you will. You know, because again, the procedures and the steps that I'm performing here, I'm sure, completely out of order and whatnot. So just take it with a grain of salt. Try not to read too much into how I'm doing things here. Here we go. Now I'm going to set it to, so yeah, let's just take it all the way up to cruising altitude of flight level 310. And gosh, looks like we're starting to get more into the clear, well above the clouds, and maybe we'll even start to see some beautiful cities below or out in the distance. Gosh, I sure hope so. That'd be really nice. Alright, so let's kick back and enjoy the ride. Might even see some other aircraft out there in the sky. And that's the one thing I love about the Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is how it has the ability to display in real time real flights. So you see an aircraft at a specific place and time, you know, it's pretty accurate. That's where it's at in real life. Yeah, there's an airport down there. Not sure what airport that is actually. Almost looks like it's the Grand Canyon airport, the one that's... No, that's not the Grand Canyon airport. I'm not sure. I'd have to pull up a map. Anyways, just need to do something here real quick. Just have to do something in the background. Okay. Almost looks like snow there in the distance. where those road lights are. And if my memory serves me correct, that might be Zion National Park, Bryanhead area. So yeah, they might have even gotten a little snow, I don't know. As we go into fall season, we're going to get more rain. Temperatures are going to start to drop, and eventually we're going to get into our snowy season, which I absolutely love. I really do enjoy the 4 seasons. Okay, yeah, I got to get the anti-ice turned on, window heat. Last thing I need is to get iced over and have an accident. That would not be good. And just look at those clouds, though, and the way MSFS 2020 renders them. I mean, it's just beautiful. And the sat imagery, like, oh my goodness. This flight simulator is just epic. And I cannot believe that Microsoft is already coming out with 2024 next year. I can't even imagine how much more realistic that version will be, because I've really enjoyed the heck out of this 2020. Oh, there's another airplane. If I look really hard, it looks like got the red strobe to our, well, it'll be to our right, to our 3 o'clock, and green strobe to our 9 o'clock. So that tells me the aircraft is traveling in about a northeasterly direction, north-northeast, because we're heading south. So maybe they're headed towards Grand Junction or Denver, Colorado, that direction. Now, the one thing I really admire and respect about the job that the creators have done for this flight simulator is you look at how realistic the graphics are. Like, it has such a high fidelity, but yet while at the same time they were able to maintain such a smoothness, such an awesome, amazing performance behind it. You know, it's not.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck, Captain speaking. We've just reached our cruising altitude for the flight. As it begins to settle in, I do want to remind you to please keep your seat elbows clear from the aisle, as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley cards shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating with the front galley.
That was my first officer there. Just making an announcement. Cruising altitude. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I mean, the performance in the simulator is just incredible, because, you know, you would think that you would need like the top of the line computer, you know, like a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 plus machine just to run this thing. But now, mind you, I'm not running at max graphics, but I don't need to, because simulator just has such an amazing visual fidelity that, you know, you can go in there and fine tune it, and you can enhance what's most important to you. So if cloud fidelity is most important to you, you can crank that up and turn other things down. If you prefer to have the buildings really stand out, same thing. So, and plus here we are flying at night, so a lot of that is just not quite as important because you can't see much. But even still, you can see the terrain pretty well. Okay, off in the distance there, in the direction that we're currently looking, that is Las Vegas. Those are the city lights of Las Vegas, Nevada. Sun City. Shines pretty brightly from all of the casinos and hustle and bustle. That's also a city that never sleeps, just like New York City. Although I've never been to New York City, and I'd love to go visit one day. For those of you who are from New York City, maybe I'll try to do a flight to there, going across the country one day. Fly into JFK or LaGuardia or Teterboro, those airports. It's a beautiful city from what I've seen. So, we're getting ready to get a beautiful, gorgeous view of the Grand Canyon down below, as you can see. Right now we're flying in between Lake Mead and then the mouth of where the Grand Canyon basically starts. So, it does kind of look like the parts of the north rim got a little bit of snow on the other residual storm we got. A long time ago I got to visit the south rim of the Grand Canyon in real life, and I mean, it is such a surreal experience. I mean, it is huge, gigantic. But from 31,000 feet, it almost looks like you could just, I mean, it looks like a sandbox almost. But when you're down there on the ground, standing at either the south rim or the north rim, I mean, it's a good 15-20 miles across in some areas, and like it almost doesn't even look real. I mean, it almost looks like it's a gigantic painting. It is so surreal. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life, I'll tell you that much. Well, that's why it's one of the 7 wonders of the world. In fact, I learned that on the planet Mars, they have a canyon there that's 10 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. I think it's called like the Valles Marineris. And this thing is so gigantic and so deep that I looked at a comparison chart between our Grand Canyon and the Valles Marineris on Mars, and you could literally fit the entire Grand Canyon within it. You could fit the length of our Grand Canyon within the width of the Valles Marineris, and it would have no problem fitting. It's so bizarre. So, I mean, this thing on Mars is like, man, I want to say probably 40,000 feet deep, and width-wise, I think it's like 150 miles across. I mean, this thing is a beast. But of course, Mars, with its lighter gravity, it has features that just dwarf anything on Earth, including that one ginormous volcano. And I found out it's because of how the gravity is a lot weaker, and so things can just grow unproportionally big there. So I decided to turn the seatbelt light back on because things are getting a little bumpy, as they tend to do a little bit going over the Grand Canyon because of the uneven terrain. It can tend to create uneven channels of air and stuff, jet stream things. So jet stream flowing at a little over 80 knots right now. So fighting a bit of a crosswind as we make our way south, so luckily the autopilot does a good job of compensating for that. Veering a little bit into the wind. The airplane headed wherever he's going. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty calm evening tonight. Some high clouds. Some clouds resting on the mountaintops in the distance. But yeah, overall not too bad. We're about a third of the way down to Phoenix. We've been in the air about 20 minutes. So overall, I'd say we're doing pretty good. I love taking in the view of everything, almost to a fault. Sometimes I fail to monitor my instruments as much as I probably should, but I'm just so wowed by the scenery, because it's like being here in real life. This is the amazing job that Microsoft has done. Let's see, how's everything looking? All of our numbers, engine parameters are good, we've got plenty of oil, engine vibrations good, running at about 76% N1, which is good for 1,000 feet, right. And eventually my goal is to get to the level of where I'm streaming content instead of just recording it and posting it. I haven't quite gotten to that level of confidence quite yet, but I do know that that would be a good thing, because then we can interact in real time and chat. Okay, we got about a little over 200 nautical miles Phoenix, and should start seeing the city lights of Phoenix in the distance. Now I'm just checking our flight plan. Make sure things looking good. Looks like. Some lights below. I'll get to some windy highway. I gotta admit, I don't do this flight very often, so I'm still trying to learn all of the landmarks. Vegas still in the distance, 3 o'clock, and then at our 2 o'clock, I can't see it very well, I think that was Kingman, Arizona. There's an app that I've used in the past, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's where you can pull up a live and linked Google map to your flight in real time in MSFS 2020. And the thing I love about it is it will show you a lot more detail of your flight, your location, and everything on a map, that shows like state lines and is labeled much better than the default map here in the game, in the sim. So I've been meaning to get that reinstalled because it really does help a whole lot with navigating. It's sort of comparable to the default map that's in Microsoft Flight Simulator X or Prepared, but it's a little different because it's Google based, so really good map. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking that's Kingman, Arizona. Kingman is the small city that's, well, it's right off of Interstate 40, and it's just due east of Laughlin, Nevada, Bullhead City, Arizona, probably about 45 minutes, just cutting across. Those lights down there almost look like another part of Interstate 40 on when one is heading to its Flagstaff, Humphreys Peak, which happens to be the highest peak in Arizona. That's quite a sight. And and you know what? If you just barely look out far in the distance at our 11 o'clock, that looks to be the city lights of Phoenix. So yeah, we're not too far, at least in flying terms. Driving, it's still a ways, but when you fly this high, I mean, the horizon, the vantage point is just huge. So even though the city lights look like they're just right there, like you can almost touch them, I mean, it's still a good 150 plus miles away, which is pretty wild. And then to our 10 o'clock, 10:30, I can't tell if those are clouds or lights down there. If they're lights, that might be Prescott. Because I-17, that's the north-south corridor that will run you in between Flagstaff and Phoenix. That's on the way. Prescott and a few other beautiful towns and cities. And it's a beautiful drive because when you're going north, you're basically climbing the whole way, and so it's a very windy mountain road that interstate goes on. So, and then you get to see a lot of those saguaro cacti, really cool green cactus. And I actually think this simulator renders those cacti too, which is really neat. Microsoft does do a really good job of updating the simulator quite often with all of the world updates, sim updates. And every Thursday, every week, they try to come out with like a press release and update on what they've been accomplishing and working on to make the simulator a little bit better and better each week and each month. And they've really come a long way ever since they first released it just a little over 3 years ago. But yeah, sure enough, that is Phoenix right there at our 11 o'clock. But mind you, it's still over 100 miles away. We've probably got about another 30 minutes till wheels down. Well, actually, actual flight distance is 158 nautical miles. But like linear distance is probably about 100 or so. But our flight plan will basically take us out and around because we're going to come in on runway. Should be coming in on runway 26. Because the winds will be coming out of the west. Okay, folks, I'm going to take a small little break here. Keep the flight going. Take a small little break, and I will be right back.
From the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare for approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
Okay, sorry about that. I just had to grab a quick bite and also do some stretches for my lower back. I've got a couple of herniated discs, and so I'm rather limited in my mobility. So after sitting down for a while, I have to stand up and do some of those stretches so that I'm not in pain. So as you can see, we've already begun our initial descent. We're making our way down to the city of Phoenix. It's just to our 10 o'clock. Just kick back, relax, and continue to enjoy the nice smooth descent. Right now I'm just getting everything squared away. For our approach. Double checking the flight plan, making sure we're on course. Everything still looks good. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful approach. Phoenix Sky Harbor International. Just a few high clouds. And to continue our descent. Thermometer set properly. Linear distance wise, we're probably at about 40 to 50 miles out, if I had to guess. Such a beautiful night. Our next altitude, 17,000. Touch with ATC, listen to ATIS, confirm which way the wind's coming from, check the weather and all that. In case you guys are wondering, no, I'm not a member of VATSIM or Pilot's Edge, but one day I may join those. I'm not sure yet. I'm not ready to do that yet. And so typically what I'll do is I'll rely on ATIS But usually I don't use the default ATC because it just doesn't feel that realistic to me. But I'm not confident enough. I don't feel confident enough to use the live online ATC services like VATSIM. Although I'd like to work up to that, because that would just really make this experience a lot more immersive. And I admire the heck out of you guys out there that do use those services. I think that's really cool. Just makes this process all that much more realistic. Okay, well, I wasn't able to pull up Sky Harbor's ATIS, but I did pull up Phoenix Goodyear's ATIS. They're an airport, a smaller airport just west of Sky Harbor, which they're gonna give a weather report that's comparable because they're just kind of right there. So, and then looking at the nav screen, getting ready to make our 90-degree elbow turn to the east, so we can start really descending down into the city, which is just right there. And those more orangish lights down there that are at our 9 o'clock, those are from the I-10, Interstate 10, which runs from Santa Monica, California, Southern California, and it goes east to, I want to say, Orlando, Florida? I'm not sure. I apologize. I'm not sure. I know the 40 goes to North Carolina. I've driven it, but I've never driven I-10 past a small town in New Mexico. Right on the New Mexico-Arizona border. So we should start our left bank any minute now, as we go out and around, and we'll be making a left-hand turn into the airport. Left-hand pattern, I should say. And here we go. We begin our dog leg left. And the final stretch. getting a little bit lower and lower, and as we get closer to the city, we can make out a few more details, more lights, more roads. Looks like there's a bit of a haze over the city, but not too bad. Nothing to get in a stir over. And we'll get ourselves configured for going below 10,000. We'll get our landing lights on. Turn off taxi lights. Start preparing for final approach and landing. It's still looking good so far. Get all of the anti-icing off because we're no longer at freezing temp. Yeah, the features down there in the city are just beautiful. As you get lower and lower and closer, you start making out all of the football fields and the baseball diamonds and just the different features and landmarks. And just the way they're lit up at night, too, is just spectacular. And the roads and the vehicles, it's pretty wild. Feels like the real deal. Okay, we'll go down to our next levels, 7,000 feet. Our next constraint is actually at Tawdry, 5,000 feet, and then we'll reach Jagal at 4,000 feet. These are various waypoints, and yes, indeed, we'll be coming in on ILS runway 26. Slow her down a little bit, and that way we can put out our first notch of flaps. The city of Phoenix is quite the sight at night, though, that's for sure. Because the weather is almost always very pretty. And for those of you that are from Phoenix, Arizona, welcome. Welcome to your hometown, home city. And while I myself have never lived in Phoenix, I have lived in Tucson, which is about an hour and a half drive east-southeast of here. And I can also do a flight there as well. I think that would be kind of cool, because they've got that Air Force base out there, and they also have the airplane boneyard, which is actually quite a sight. And I think I've flown there once in this simulator. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Alright, now it's taking us on the course so we can get lined up. Pretty soon we'll take over manual control. Usually I like to fly the plane manually because it just gives me a better sense of control, so that way I'm not having to think too hard about which switch to set where, with the exception being if I'm flying ILS, no visibility, then typically I'll bring it all the way in on the localizer and then set the approach mode. But in any event, I figured, you know what, we'll just bring it in nice and easy. Okay, got everything configured. We've got our auto brake set to low. We got our spoilers on, landing lights on, and it looks to me like our landing checklist is complete. Just got to keep bringing it down. We got our first notch of flaps. Just got to bleed off some airspeed a bit here. Overspeed.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Okay, so right now we've got flaps 2, just dropped the gear, we've got 3 green lights for landing, so we know we're good there. Coming in at about 170 knots, still trying to bleed off a little bit more airspeed. Let's see, coming up on our first official constraint of 5,000 feet. Okay, now we're turning left heading 260. We're a little bit north of the airport, so we're going to have to compensate for that by flying a little bit more southwest. Probably catch a heading of 230 until we get lined up with the localizer. Alright, now we have flaps 3, so we're probably about less than 5 minutes. Wheels down, so just about there. So focus on this approach here. So yeah, relax and enjoy the view. See you on the ground.
2,500. 1,000. 500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
And here we are, folks. Welcome to the city of Beans. Hopefully that wasn't bad. Right? Reverse restored, and I think we'll take this next taxiway to the left. I'd like to thank you all for joining me and supporting my channel and watching my video tonight and today. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, because that will definitely help to build this channel and so that I can continue to create more content for you guys. Again, I'd like to thank you for your support. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you might be in the world. Alright. Take care and see you next time.